Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, assalamu alaikum, namaskar, wherever you are. This is your friend Dr. Faz with a new episode of Live with Dr. Faz. As you know that we bring our guests from all over the world. Today I have a friend of mine. He's an entrepreneur, he's a speaker, he's a coach, he's a trainer with an amazing life story. And he was born in Romania, but now he's living his dream in Sweden. So let me welcome so we can hear that story by himself. He's going to tell us. And folks, make yourself ready. Take a lot of notes. You are going to get lot of golden nuggets out of him. So be ready. Let me welcome Mr. Florin Lungu. Hi, Florin. Good to see you here.
Great to see you, Dr. Faz. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I'm hanging in, and I believe you are enjoying that in Sweden too. How's COVID-19 there?
Actually, I don't know how to say, and I would want to go in that direction. In the beginning, we were kind of the black
Yeah,
sheep,
yeah,
of the
yeah,
world. Like everybody was looking towards Sweden. Maybe we did something wrong. And now
yeah,
maybe some other countries look for maybe what did we do good. But
yes,
the history is not over. So we're not
yes,
in the position where we can say that who did well or who did less well.
yeah.
So for now, I think business is picking up, and the signals what I'm seeing from the market is that the summer is over, people get back to their jobs. I see people meeting to in small events, so
Hmm.
good signs that things are picking up.
Awesome, awesome. That's great, and it's a good sign that we are moving in the right direction. Florin, thanks for joining us. It's my pleasure to have you here. So let's start with a traditional ice-breaking question.
Sure.
So, our audiences and our viewers who are watching us right now, and they will be watching later on too, they would like to know about your early childhood, about your early education. So, would you like to give a brief introduction for your early childhood?
Definitely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting
It's
me.
my
I
pleasure.
My story, it's is nothing extraordinary about my story. I think I had a very ordinary life until around age of 30. I grew up in Romania. I spent all of my summers and summer breaks in the countryside with my grandparents. We used to have a small farm around the house. We had vegetables, we had a garden, we had a little pond where we had fish, and we fish there. We were fishing there with my dad. We heard sheep and cows. We kind of were self-dependent, right, in the countryside.
Yep.
So this is this is how my childhood was until I went into school, and then all my summer breaks were kind of like that. I used to say now that was my dad who chose my career path, and I still say that is because I was when finishing primary school, I was not that kind of student that was having good grades, or I was kind of lazy. I didn't like to study. I liked maths and all of the things that were logical, but I didn't like to
Mm.
memorize kind of facts and years, like when did the first world war happen, who was involved, and all the parties. That was not something that interested me. And
Mm.
I got into some let's say not so good circles of influence, and my dad said, no, I don't trust you anymore. You need to come and study automotive here at our high school. So he's a teacher, he teaches mechanics, and he said, okay, I want to watch you, I want to keep an eye on you.
Mm.
So he kind of chosen for me my high school, and then I've been in through high school, learn some technical stuff, mechanics, and then the next logical step for me was to go into college and study
Mhm.
engineering automotive, which is what I've done. And that led me to then meet my wife at that time. We married at age 30, 23, so
Wow.
young age. We were young when we married, and then we kind of grew together. I
Yeah.
started automotive career, and
Let me stop you for a second because I met your wife
sure,
too, luckily, and we had a good time. Tell me, she's a doctor, correct?
yeah, she's a psychiatrist. Yes.
Wow. So I mean, so you met in Romania, all right?
Yes, we
Uh,
met in Romania. We actually grew up in the same village. We didn't know each other un-
oh,
until kind of about 2 or 3 years before our marriage. So about age 20, we had a common friend that
mhm.
invited me. There's a girl that you might need to know. And, okay, sure, yeah, let's go. And so I
Mhm.
went, to kind of, speak to her and invite her to what we used to say it was like a disco party. It was like disco.
Ah, okay,
We
okay.
used to play kind of disco music in these kind of what we call today clubs, right?
Yes, exactly.
So that was, yeah. We didn't knew each other before that age, but we grew up
Ah,
in the same village in the countryside,
yeah,
and then well, 3 years later we were still in college, both of us, but we married because also we thought this is the choice. We want to grow together, but also that we were studying in different cities. So for a period of time, we had kind of a distant relationship, and we figured out this wouldn't work on the long term. So we
mhm.
needed to kind of make some decisions, which led me to move with my school into the same city she was studying, and then from there we kind of grew together.
So you started in engineering, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
I did. So that was, as I said, my dad kind of chosen for me this high school, which was a technical high school where we learned to repair cars, like engines and mechanics. And
Yeah.
then logically for me was to follow engineering school, which was quite
Yeah.
famous in our area there in Romania. So if you know the I don't think these cars are sold in the United States, but it might be in the in the Middle East. They definitely are. Dacia. So Dacia,
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
a
I never saw that. Yeah.
yeah, it's a trademark by Renault. It's owned by Renault.
Yeah.
So that was kind of
Okay.
the Romanian trademark for cars, which was bought by Renault, and the factory was very close to my city. And so then that was kind of a logical step. If you want to go into engineering, that was the best kind of employer. So
Mm.
I followed that, and then I started with them as an engineer, as a mechanical engineer, working with engines and gearbox and tuning them right to
Hmm.
work
Yeah.
well together, to make sure that we comply with the regulations when it comes to emissions and CO2 and all of these all of these regulations. So that was kind of my the start of my career in engineering.
Wow. Okay. And how long you been in that specific field?
Yeah, so I've been in total for more than 12 years in the engineering field,
Okay.
and I've been with that company so for 8 years. So I just kind of started to climb the ladder. I've been project leader, then team leader, then again
Hmm.
project leader before 5 years ago moving to Sweden
Hmm.
and acting another 4 years with Volvo cars in the same
Uh,
field as project leader.
yeah.
So that was in total about 12 years in that
Wow.
career.
Wow. Wow. So, did you feel like exciting there, or it was a boring job, or?
Actually, it was quite exciting. I think it was one of the best jobs I could have, chosen because um, you have to know this about my job. We were tuning, as I said, the
Yes.
engine and
Yes.
setting on the engine, which led us to go on some really exciting trips to
Hmm.
test those vehicles, the prototype vehicles, before they were launched. We
Yes.
we were testing them in for extreme conditions. Like for example, I traveled to Sweden before moving here in the very north, in the northmost Sweden, the beyond the Arctic Circle, where
Uh,
temperatures reach minus 40, minus 45 degrees, to
wow.
test those vehicles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I've been in the Arizona desert as
Yeah.
well to test those vehicles. I've
Yeah.
been in Spain, and so it was quite exciting. So we know that at least once or twice a year we had one of these trips, and it was really fun actually, fun
Yeah.
work to tune those vehicles and work with those prototypes vehicles. We felt
Wow.
proud when we saw them on the street.
Awesome. 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 Tell me a little bit about what was your worst failure in your life?
Whew, my worst failure.
Yeah, we want to know. You're a leader. People
Yeah,
can learn out of you.
I made lots of failures in my life, and I cannot put the finger on one, but I can tell you a few.
Yeah.
So one of the failures that hmm, it's actually really difficult to pick one. I wouldn't say that I haven't failed. It's maybe because my approach to failure, right? Because
Mm,
I see failure as like a lesson, so I don't
yeah.
really
Yep.
sit that much in that situation and dwell into it, right? But
Yes,
I know
exactly.
that I have made some failures, like I employed the wrong type of people in my in not in my company, but in my team with Renault. I know
Hmm.
that I gave them, some too much confidence to some people, and there were some of my failures as a leader, because I was young. I didn't have this, emotional intelligence developed, and I
Hmm.
didn't knew much about leadership. So
Hmm.
I kind of used my feeling, and I said, one of the worst failures I think is when I said, oh, I would employ this person anyway because I can fix them,
Hmm.
instead of acknowledging that
Yes.
I
Yes.
cannot fix anybody, right?
Yeah.
So that was, if I look back, that was one of my leadership failure, because I
Yeah.
thought that I'm so much better than them, that I can fix them and I can help them, um, and actually I create more work for me.
Yeah. That's a great lesson for our viewers. So, viewers, you can see a leader how they handle their failures. They take it as a lesson. So, sometime you win, sometime you learn. You never lose. Just keep in mind. So, let's move forward. So, now let me ask you a vice versa question. Tell me about the best accomplishment beside getting your wife.
Yeah. That's definitely an accomplishment. I had to convince her, so that's why I know that was an accomplishment.
No,
Uh,
she's such a sweet lady, and I know it was accomplishment. But beside that, let's talk about other stuff.
I think one of the best accomplishment is our move to Sweden. Um,
Okay,
it was something, we were in a position. I was to share this story anyway, but I can do it now just to give some context.
sure.
We were in, you know fast forward, after I started my career in engineering. I started to kind of climb the ladder, and I realized that the more I go up that ladder, I get closer to some people that I didn't
Mhm.
really respect, or the direction of the company was not necessarily what I wanted, and then I needed to make some decisions. And you can just add to this the fact that I was working long hours. My wife was holding two jobs and learning English in the
Mm,
evening, so we only had the weekends for us. And in the weekends, we either had to go and visit our family, just because we felt this. We felt in debt, because they helped us a lot when we were in college, and we said, yeah, we cannot say no to them, so we either visit them and then help them around the house, or maybe spend some time with friends. So we didn't really have time for ourselves at all. And
mhm.
so our marriage started uh, to lose a little bit. So we kind of we lost that passion that we had in the beginning. So we said we need to do something. We really
Mhm.
need to do something. And it's about this time when I got introduced to the John Maxwell team and Paul Martinelli, because we were in a situation where um, we didn't like the life that we had. And Paul Martinelli held an event called Your Turning Point in Romania.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that was kind of one of our, let's say, last chances. Okay, let's go and see what happens. And I was more into looking for a solution, and I kind of dragged Florina with me to that
Yeah.
event. And so that changed everything for us. From there, we
Yeah.
started to see that there is a hope. There are other people that
Mhm.
seem to know better about how to create results in their life, and we want to be around those people. And so if we look at some of the accomplishments, I think not that decision in itself, but what we've done afterwards, like
Yeah.
our marriage. we just celebrated 15 years of marriage last 2 weeks ago on the 24th of September, and
Mm-hmm.
that it's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And from our mentor, common mentor John Maxwell, that he says, it's not the decision itself that matters that much, because you can make a decision in a split of a second. You made a decision,
Yeah.
but how you manage that decision, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
believe it's a huge accomplishment to manage the decision to marry my wife, 15 years ago. Does it make
Mm.
sense?
Yeah. I mean, but it's a very unusual shift as an engineer, as a
It is.
corporate guy, as a like a project leader or whatever you were at work,
Yeah, it is.
and suddenly going towards entrepreneurship and
Mhm.
talking about personal development and self growth. So I understand your personal situation, like you just mentioned about your personal life. But
Mhm.
I mean, what other factors triggered you to get into this kind of industry?
Yeah, so I think everything happened, and I'm not sure if I even have. Yeah, I keep it close. So I was a manager at Renault, and we had this management conference where all the managers were invited. And
Uh-huh.
our CEO at the time in Romania, they gave us this book, and this is a book by John Maxwell,
Oh yeah, 360. Oh,
360
wow.
degree leader. This is the
Yes,
Romanian version of it.
yes, yes, yes.
So this introduced me to John Maxwell. This introduced me to the field of personal development, and I got
Yeah.
curious. And then I realized, with being on probably subscribed to their programs to meet with Maxwell, um, I realized that they had this event with Paul Martinelli in Romania. And after
Mm,
that event, we just said these are the kind of people we want to spend more time with. And both me and my wife, we joined this John Maxwell team that we are both part of. And that's
mhm.
why we met in 2015 in March
Yeah.
in Florida, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, in Orlando, yes.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the beginning. We started to see that there there is something special about these people. The way they
Yeah.
speak, the way they talk, they seem to understand life in a better way than we do. So this sparked a little bit of interest in my side, in myself. But I only wanted to get into the John Maxwell team to become a better leader in my work. So
Mhm.
my wife Florina, she works with patients. She's a medical doctor, but she in psychiatry there's a lot of coaching, right? There is
Yeah.
not only medications. No, medication is
Yes.
kind of the last the last tool, but
Yeah.
she uses coaching a lot in her work. So for both of us, this was a really good way to improve our careers.
Correct.
and
Yeah.
and that was the case, until we came to the United States. We got certified, we got back to Romania, and then we realized we felt empowered, and we said we can do something more than that. And
Mhm.
so this is where our idea to move to Sweden came from.
Mhm.
And then when my wife got an offer to work in Sweden, we say, okay, let's see how do we make this happen.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then 6 months later, in September of 2015, we were moving to Sweden.
Correct.
Arriving here, I had a lot more time after my regular job to explore this idea of leadership and then this idea of personal development. And then I just started a small business here with doing, just personal development training. In here in Sweden, we have an agency or, many organizations that help adults with education. So there is an organization for adult education called Vuxen Utbildning, and
Okay.
this organization helped us with a room. So I had a room where I held, mastermind training. So we took a book by John Maxwell and we studied that book
Wow.
for 8 weeks or for 6 weeks. So this is how everything started. I just saw how much more empowered I felt, you know, after the move to Sweden. And I
Mhm.
said, I need to share this with other people. I,
Mhm.
I cannot just hold this for myself, because there is enough for all of us. There is
Mhm.
not a scarcity mindset here that if I
Mhm.
take too much of the pie, there will not be enough for you. So that's what this is how it started. I just started.
Awesome.
We
Yeah.
felt empowered by
Yeah.
learning more and understanding the life and understanding our
Mhm.
internal resources, that we can actually go move
Yeah.
to another country where we didn't know anybody, we didn't know the
Correct.
language, we didn't have any network, and we could have successful careers here.
course, yes, yeah. So it's for the viewers. See, if you do your part of the work and do it in a right direction, it pays off. You can see he went to Sweden and he didn't have any friends or any circle there, but now he's a very successful business entrepreneur there and trainer, teacher, and speaker. Let me ask you one thing, Florin. Uh, you just talked about mastermind.
Hmm.
For our viewers, I mean, obviously, we would like to elaborate that. What do you mean by mastermind? Can you explain how does it work?
Yeah. So what I mean by, so I first been introduced to this concept of masterminding from the book Think and Grow Rich. So in the book Think and Grow
Wow.
Rich by Napoleon Hill,
Yes.
Andrew Carnegie, who was the steel magnate of that period in 1950s, 1930s, he had this kind of group of advisor, right? So he was not a guy that was trained in, for example, in the steel industry. So he didn't have a degree. He didn't know how to, melt iron,
Mhm.
but he had a panel. He had a group of advisors that knew all of those things that he needed to know for the business. So
Mhm.
he would have these advisors, these trusted advisors that he would advise with, and he would consult with when he wanted to to take the next step in his business. And when we talk about the concept of masterminding, there is two aspects to it. There's one which is more readily known as a book club, or where we take a book like this one and
Mhm.
we mastermind around a topic, and this we call like a book club or book mastermind, book study mastermind. But
Mhm.
then there is that initial concept from the Thinking Gurich that I use, where I help entrepreneurs, a group of 6 to 8 people, and we meet every week for about 1 hour and a half. And every week there is one of us coming to the table with a challenge. And some people call that the hot seat, and I call that the stage time. So, for example, if you and I would be in a mastermind, for example, this week you would have stage time. We'll allow you half an hour of our time where you come with a challenge that you face, and the group will help you, will mastermind around that challenge and help you understand what do you need to do, what will be your next step, and give you ideas and feedback, and acts like your board of director. So this is
Mhm.
something that it's of tremendous value for someone not having
Mhm.
a board of directors or
Yeah.
being a solopreneur, right? If
Yes.
you're by yourself, you don't have a board to go to.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's a group of like-minded people, but you become an average of the people you hang out with, and this is one of that. Even
Yeah.
if it's an imaginary, in case like Napoleon Hill did that,
Hmm.
because he used to call Andrew Carnegie there in his own mind, and Ford and Edison and Einstein, and he used to ask questions. It was although a clear imagination, but he had answers from them. Basically, it was an intuitive answer from the God of his questions because he was so attached to them. So, no, what an awesome explanation you gave. So, the other thing, what else you do? Like you do coaching too?
Yeah, so what I do, I kind of serve two different kind of markets, and one is small business owners, entrepreneurs, professionals that they need to develop themselves, and they had a broader spectrum. So when you are an entrepreneur, you know that you need to wear different hats, and so we equip those people and entrepreneurs and those that want to start a business or they just want to advance their career with
Mm-hmm.
skills through different programs, different solutions. And one program that we will start right now at the end of this month would be a 12-month mentoring program. And this is
Okay.
a program which is with combines curriculum. We help them develop different skills like leadership, like emotional intelligence, sales, understanding marketing for their business, and
Mm-hmm.
all of the aspects of personal development, developing the owner, not the business. So we give them this curriculum, and then we
Mm-hmm.
come that with group coaching and mentoring sessions where we have live calls, like for example this one, and people come in with their challenge, and we mentor them through that process. So this is a program that is created for entrepreneurs, right? And this is one of the markets that we are
Mm-hmm.
operating. And the other one is more like, I will not call it corporate because we don't really target big corporations, but businesses that have around 50 employees, where there is leadership team. They need more leadership, more team development, more interpersonal skills and team dynamics, and those are kind of different needs that we serve.
Mm. Okay, so can you a little bit explain me what's the difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur?
I think we use this term very much interchangeably, and I think the biggest difference that I see, and from my experience, it's actually the mindset. When someone is a business owner, if you take it by the letter, I would say the business owner is the owner of a business. Like, let's say, you
Hmm.
know, like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, they own you know some companies, right? You could
Yeah.
call them a business owner, right? Literally, they are a owner of the company. They are shareholder in a company. But I think the most common use of this term is for someone maybe being a solopreneur or entrepreneur, which is more a group of two or three people that work on a business and they own that business, like self-employed mostly. And,
Hmm.
and I think the biggest difference between those two is the mindset, because an entrepreneur doesn't look for owning, the work. Because as a business owner, most most people they are self-employed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they own kind of what they do, and they kind of, instead of working through a company, I could just sell, for example, engineering consultancy service, and I'm a I'm a business owner, right?
Yeah.
I work for myself. But an entrepreneur, I think the difference is that an entrepreneur goes to feel a need in the market.
Yeah.
They go deeper. They don't look for getting paid for the work that they do. They look for, how can I make better?
Hmm.
I pick up this book. What can I do from it? Can I make an ebook from it? Can I make an online study? Can I make a product? Can I commoditize it so I don't need to work every single day, right? I can leverage my time. That would be
Hmm.
kind of what I would see the difference here.
Yes,
What's
correct.
your view?
No, I mean, I agree with you totally because entrepreneurship is, again, it's a mindset, number one. Not every business owner can be entrepreneur, but every entrepreneur is a business owner, in
Yes.
other words. So it is true. And again, an entrepreneur is a person who doesn't build or who doesn't set up just a business. He sets up a system.
Mm-hmm.
When he is not physically there, still he can make money because it's a system works for him rather than he works for system. So that's the main difference. But yeah, you explained very well. But let's move forward to the. Tell me the three top books which you can recommend to our viewers.
Three top books.
Hmm.
I think definitely Think and Grow Rich is one of the top books that I go back and visit quite often.
Yeah.
Then there is that's by Napoleon Hill. Then there is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles.
Oh, I love that.
Then I mean, you only want me to say three books because I have 10 if you want.
Yeah, let's go for 10.
Yeah, I think because what comes to mind now, there is a really nice book that I think any entrepreneur should read, because it's about our relationship with money. And I know this is something that I struggled with, and I still have my challenge with that, just because my upbringing in Romania, rich people were mean, like under communism. How do people get rich? Take from
Yeah.
the poor and then give to the rich. That was the communist system. And
Yeah.
so the learning that I had around the kitchen table, the discussion that were around the kitchen table, when someone was rich, is because my grandparents said that because they steal, right? They steal from other people, they steal from the
Yeah.
government. So that's why people got rich. So I had this relationship with money where I thought that you know I believed rich people are mean, but in the same time I wanted to have money. I wanted to be rich. So there was a conflict there. And I think a book that helps someone which might be on the same journey. It's called Happy Money by Ken Honda.
In Honda. Okay.
Yeah, this is a really good book that I would recommend. And then, of course, there are the classic like Psycho-Cybernetics
Oh yes.
and by Maxwell Maltz. And for an entrepreneur, I would definitely recommend for someone, no, for a business owner, not an entrepreneur, for a business owner to become an entrepreneur, I would recommend The E-Myth, The Entrepreneurial Myth by Michael E. Gerber.
Oh wow.
That's a really really good book to pick up
I
for
would
that.
love to hear.
What I'm reading now, it's Today Matters by John Maxwell.
Yes.
It's a really
Yes.
good book again for
Mm-hmm.
um, taking action and doing things today.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, I love books. The challenge is, when do you find time for reading? And I just set some time at the end of the day. I have a book, always a book, beside my bed. We don't
Mm-hmm.
go with any phones or any digital devices in
Mm-hmm.
our bedroom, so
Mm-hmm.
nothing there unless it's a book. So that's my reading time. But I listen to audiobooks a lot, so
Okay.
it makes it a lot easier for me. So I have probably 20 at any time. I have 20, 30 books in my audio library, and for different topics. I
Mm-hmm.
choose to I say like that. If I want to develop in an area of my life, then I choose books for that purpose. It's not the other way around, right? Because I get recommended books all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I think I want to kind of understand. Okay, for what area of my life would this be of use? And so then I can categorize them, and I choose when I pick them. So I think this is
Mm-hmm.
a nice thing to do, not just read everything, because
Mm-hmm.
there has to be a purpose behind it, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, awesome, awesome. These all books, and I definitely want to read that book which you just told at the end. I never had an opportunity. The rest of the books, pretty much, I read those. So I love those books. But what's your typical day look like? How many hours you spend on studying, and how many hours you put together for your? Obviously, you have a regular work too. So.
Yeah, so I had that regular work. So that was until last summer.
Hmm.
I transitioned completely from my day work. But at that time, it was like working every morning, working the lunch break, working every evening, working every weekend.
Hmm.
Now it's a little bit, it's almost similar, and
Hmm.
I know my wife will probably watch this and then she will kill me afterwards. But because I would probably say that I do not spend too much time with the business, and she would say that I spend too much. I
Hmm.
think you know it depends a lot on the period of time, right? Because for example, when I have a launch of a product or of a service, or for example, as we launch this program right now at the end of the month, then there is, I know I have a priority. I know I have something to finish, and there is a deadline. Uh,
Hmm.
my days will look very different than they looked, this past summer, or they would look after, a few weeks after this is launched and this is ready and going. Uh,
Hmm.
so it, I don't have a regular kind of how my day looks like, but I want to own my time, which is, for
Hmm.
example, when I work with my clients, I allow certain days of the week and certain
Hmm.
times for coaching calls, right? For my
Hmm.
coaching, I don't like that they book a coaching session here, another one here, because then it breaks my day, right?
Yes,
So I want
exactly.
keep that under control. So a regular day of mine would be like wake up 6:45. I have a really small and intensive morning routine where I do some push-ups in the morning, and then I just do my routine. Have coffee with my wife. She goes to work, and then I go back to my office. Now we are in my office here at home,
Hmm.
and then I start on working on what I have. I either have a catch-up call with my assistant. I have a virtual assistant helping me with all the admin part of my business. and so we have a call. We have that 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, to make sure that things are on track. And then I either dive into one of my, if I have some coaching sessions, of course I will do those. But I would say that my days are quite boring, just because I either need to read some material to create content, or I
Hmm.
either review content, or I
Hmm.
listen to some content that I created to rewrite it, or I write something. So it's not always exciting. I'm not always on shows like today. This is the fun part of what we do, but there is a lot of work, that people don't see, like all of the work which is behind a business, and that's the necessary and sometimes boring part of it. But someone needs to do it, and it's necessary for us to be able to enjoy this.
Yeah, no, awesome. So, what do you think? What basic skills everyone should have, like which you realize after all that experiences of life, that these skills everyone should have in their life?
Yeah, I think if you would ask me, this question about 7 or 8 years ago, when I was, a full-time engineer, I would have probably gave you another answer, because at that time I was completely unaware of this side of us, this emotional intelligence side of us, and understanding, people better, and getting along with people, and understanding feelings, and reading between the lines. And I was completely blind to this. I would sit in meetings, and after the meeting is over, my wife would ask me, okay, so what do you think that person said? And I would actually say, I mean, what do you mean? They said what they said, right? They said this. No, but what did they mean by that?
Mm.
And what do you mean? I mean, you women, you interpret things, and you always give meaning to things, but actually we all give meanings to things. But
Yes.
I was completely unaware. So now the skills that someone will necessary would need, this will be, you know you cannot succeed without this. You either need to have them, or you need to have someone that has them, revolve around people, getting along with people, understanding people, getting along with people, communicating well, right? If we think about
Yeah.
communication, it's important. Selling,
Yeah.
selling influence. This is, if you are at home, a parent, you need to sell on your kids to wear the socks that you want them to wear, right?
Yeah.
Or to eat the dish that you prepare for them. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. If you are with your spouse, with your partner, you need to sell them into, for example, the weekend experience that you prefer, and they don't
Yeah.
want to watch this movie, right? You
Yeah.
need to sell your colleagues in your idea. You need to sell your idea to your
Yes.
supervisor, to your project leader. As an
Yes.
entrepreneur, business owner, it's obvious. You need to sell your idea, your vision to investors. You need to sell yourself and your services to customers, and you need to sell, everywhere. So
Yes.
all of these soft skills, when it comes to, understanding people, getting along with people, communicating well with people,
Hmm.
public speaking, being able to express your ideas in a way that people understand it, and then they take action, and
Hmm.
selling, this I think are essential skill for everybody.
Yeah. So let me ask you, like, because we are getting to the time, and always there is a time limit.
Mhm.
uh, yeah, I love to talk hours and hours with you because we have a lot of common things which we can talk about. So my point is, I want to know. I mean, for my viewers and myself too, from you. I mean, how important, like you just said about people skill and selling skills and all that, and communication and all that. Uh, I mean, if you want to become a good speaker,
Mhm.
what are the basic fundamentals you need for that? For anyone who would like to learn,
Mhm.
what important qualities he should or she should have?
Yeah, I think, looking back at my journey, I don't think you need to have much, actually. I think you heard, I'm certain you heard this already before, like, success is 99%, perspiration and
Yeah.
1% inspiration, or
Yes.
99% effort and 1% talent, right?
Yes.
So to become a speaker, as Les Brown, maybe even Tony Robbins, John Maxwell, it requires a lot of talent. But most
Yes.
of us will not be there, right?
Yeah.
Most of us, we don't aim for that. We aim to be able to, influence people ethically, to, pass on our ideas, be able to, cast vision to our team. So for
Hmm.
that, I think you don't need, really a lot of basic skills. All you need is to have the willingness to learn and then put the time, right?
Hmm.
You hear some of our mentors say, coaches coach,
Hmm.
speakers speak, right? Mentors mentor, engineers repair cars, or whatever. Like, you need to put yourself in a situation where you have to, exercise that talent that you want to develop. So, for example, first thing you could do is, whenever you have the opportunity in your team, if you are in a company, whenever I was in in my career, they would ask, okay, who wants to, put together a presentation for next week for this topic? And
Hmm.
my colleagues will look down, so they, our managers do not pick them. And I was the one, okay, I do it. And I
Yeah.
put myself, in this uncomfortable situation to
Hmm.
be, in a situation where I need to learn about how to do this stuff to be able
Hmm.
to do it.
Hmm.
I was very, very shy when I was in, before the age of 10. I was, I was barely, speaking 2 or 3 words. I remember myself in, when we finished kindergarten. That would have been around age 10, actually, or actually 11. And I remember that, picture that they take at the end of the year. And I was, this shy. I was quite tall for my age, but I was
Hmm.
shy in the corner of the picture, looking down, with this kind of face. So I
Hmm.
was not at all a person, made for the camera, or someone being, outgoing. For me
Hmm.
to ask a girl out, that was, like torture. Or to say, to read a text in front of the classroom. Wow,
Hmm.
I,
Hmm.
I wouldn't put myself in that situation. But with, with just with practice, and then understanding that, I think the skill that people need to have is to understand
Hmm.
that if they are able to speak in public, or just if they are able to have clarity around their ideas, it will be a magnifier for the results.
Of course.
And when they get that, then whatever skills is needed, they could probably Google what is needed and
Of
then
course.
work on those, right? I think this,
Yes.
what is needed is persistence,
Yes.
just to want to do the work.
Yeah. We have a question from one of our viewers, Sajad Khan. He asked that what inspired you to transform into this profession?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Sayad. So I think,
Yeah.
what inspired me was the transformation that I saw in myself. So in the beginning, you need someone to hold your hand, right? So first of all, for us to have any kind of transformation, any kind of results, we need to be inspired that we can do it. Because at the
Mhm.
beginning, we look at other people that do things that we think are out of our reach. So we need some role models. We need some people that had a similar story like us, and started to make progress, and we get inspired that if they do it, we can do it too. So when I
Yes.
started to see that, I had some mentors that share with me what was possible for them, and more I started to see that it's possible for me.
Awesome.
And what inspired me is, like, when you go to a great restaurant or you see a great movie,
Hmm.
all you do the next day is tell all your friends how good that restaurant was, that they should go there, and or how good this movie was, and they should see it. Isn't that right?
Yes, correct.
Most
Absolutely.
people, this is what we do, and it
Yeah.
happens the same with me. So I started seeing the transformation. I started to see it. Okay, how how good it is to be able to achieve things that I thought were impossible. For me, you know 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I was, watching TV, seeing documentary movies about Sweden, and thinking about, would I be ever able to visit this country? And now I'm living in this country.
Yes. Awesome.
You know, I'm owning a house in this country,
Yeah.
or my wife is owning a house, but I live
But,
in that house.
but she
So
owns you too. I mean,
yeah, so exactly, yeah. So
it,
what inspired me was a transformation. You know, when I saw that I'm empowered to do more and I can achieve much more than before. Of course, I started to share this with other people, and as I shared that with other people, more and more people got interested, and I said, "Oh, people are interested to hear my story." Because in the beginning, we said, like, who
yeah.
wants to know about Florin? I mean, Florin, this guy from Romania. I mean, no one wants to know their story.
Yeah.
And when you see people interested, you get energized. Oh, so it
Exactly.
actually really helps people.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your question.
No. So let me ask you. It brings me another question in my mind, and I
Hmm.
would like to ask you before we wrap up. Uh, Mentoring, like you mentioned a few times,
Yeah.
just for the sake of viewers' information, how you can find a good mentor and what qualities you have to see in a mentor.
Wow, that's an amazing question, Dr. Faz. I think when I look back, there is many ways how someone can mentor you. Like, for example, a person that you never met, for example, Napoleon Hill. We never met Napoleon Hill, but he mentors us through his book.
Yes. Yes.
Um, then that might be so. For example, I'm the older brother, or we have a younger brother. Um, and I have been his mentor in some areas of his life, right? Because I was
Hmm.
older, and
Hmm.
in some areas of his life, he asked for help. So I
Hmm.
think what makes a great mentor is first of all, the person needs to be aware what are the areas that they need to grow into, right? So
Hmm.
if I want to grow, financially, right, then I look for people that have the results that I want in that area of my life. Because a person, let's pick a person, let's say Robert Kiyosaki, or
Yeah.
whoever it's known in the personal development industry for financial, kind of knowledge.
Yeah.
They might not be the best person for marriage, mentoring, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So you want to pick the persons, the people that have the results that you want in that area of your life.
Hmm.
And sometimes I know that the biggest challenge that people face, and I face it as well, is like, oh, but a guy like maybe Florin or Dr. Faz, you know they would
Hmm.
be paid kind of to mentor, right? Or
Yeah.
I cannot afford to work with them. And I would say you would be surprised of how many people would like to help someone which is really motivated to do something and to change their life,
Hmm.
just for the feeling that comes from helping someone and seeing that someone has changed the results in their life, that you help them. So I think what they need to look for is someone that has the results in the area that they want to improve in. And I think they just kind of need to ask. I think this is quote this quote is from Jim Rohn. I think Jim Rohn said something like that. He said, "Poor people
Yeah.
should invite rich people to lunch, and they should shut up and listen."
Yes. Yeah.
So
That is.
so
That
that
is.
could be that could be the starting point.
Yes.
When I started in Sweden, I didn't have connections here, so I just connect with people on LinkedIn, invite them for lunch. I would pay
Yeah.
lunch. I
Yeah.
would bring them a book as a present. I would just want to know about what they're doing and how it is to do
Yeah.
business in Sweden.
Yeah, that
That's
is
mentoring,
that's the
right?
best way to learn. Of course, absolutely. Sajjad Khan is thanks Flor and Dr. Faz for arranging this wonderful session. Thank you very much, Sajjad, for joining us. It's our pleasure. Uh, so let's because time is now too close. All right. So let's get this thing wrap up, and maybe we will bring you back on another show to talk a little more about other stuff because it's a huge industry. We can talk hours and hours.
Yeah.
So what? Any message you would like to give to our viewers?
Yeah, I think the message that comes to mind, and I would I think this idea is challenging, but I will share it anyway, and it's from one of our mentors. And we get caught up many times into, what if this will work, or would it work, or I have an idea but I'm not sure if it's working. And I think two points here. One is any idea would work.
Hmm.
Like any idea would work. People get caught up, for example, into, you know choosing the name for the business sometimes, because they say, oh, but this name I cannot choose it because the domain name with .com is not available. And we ask,
Hmm.
I mean, who knew about Google? What does it mean, Google? Today,
Yeah.
Google means something because it has a value and has awareness in people's mind. But before that, no one knew about Google.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Who knew about Facebook, right? Is it
Yeah.
Facebook a good name, bad name? We don't know, but we just learn it.
Yes.
So the idea is that we sometimes get caught up into what if, and then would this work? And the truth is that we don't know if it will work unless we try it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know this sounds challenging, but any idea would work if you do it for long enough, right? Any
Hmm.
idea would work if you do it for long enough. So I think this should be kind of inspiring, and you know allow you to just try it and do it for long enough.
Yeah, no,
But you
absolutely.
don't want to go on the other side where you only live in the future, because I think this is something that I used to do before this pandemic. What the pandemic actually taught me is that I needed to kind of slow down, and how we say, smell the roses, right? Because I
Yes.
was running 200 miles an hour before this pandemic, and I was jumping from a meeting to another meeting, taking phone calls in the car, texting in the car, all of those things. And then I realized I was always living in the next meeting, right? The
Yeah.
next, I was not present with you today
Yeah.
here because I was thinking about the next meeting. And
Yes.
I think we need to have this kind of balance, stay in the game, think
Hmm.
about the future, about the vision, what this idea could be, but also stay
Well,
kind of ingrained in
yeah.
the in the in the now, in today.
Yes. That is an awesome message. Viewers, did you realize what a great message is that? I mean, you have to take a pause. You can't just rush, rush, rush. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's so important to take a pause, re-strategize yourself, replan yourself. Don't fall in love with your just planning. Just
Mm,
keep your eyes on destination and your destiny, but you can change the plans anytime. So you have to take a little time out, little pause to re-strategize. If something is not working, who cares? Make another plan. Don't fall in love with the plan.
mm,
So, what a great message, Florin. I truly inspired by your message, and also it was a pleasure after seeing for so many years.
mm.
Please pay my best regards to Florina. And also, I would love to have you again, and we can talk a little more about our industry. Just we didn't talk yet about our lunch and learn meetings and other stuff which we do. So hopefully we will get together very soon, and hopefully you're going to give me another chance to have you on screen with me. So thank you very much. I appreciate truly your time and hope our viewers enjoyed this. And please feel free if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I can pass those questions to Florin so we can keep in touch with all of you. And inshallah, and God willing, we'll be back with a new another thought leader around the world with you in a new show. Thank you and God bless you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you for having